Hello, welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical support, practical advice. I don't
Mhm.
even know
What is our
anymore.
tagline?
It's
Whatever.
Mercury retrograde. It's fine.
Yeah. Practical stuff for other things.
Yep, we're gonna try and help. But I am Bee, my pronouns are she, her, and I am your resident numerologist.
I'm Jeanna. My pronouns are also she, her, and I am your resident astrologer.
And I'm Meg. My pronouns are she, they, and I'm the resident tarot reader.
And we are here to talk about April. April 2025.
Sounds fake.
We're so close. We're so close to the end of the bad astrology.
We are. The light is there at the end of the tunnel, maybe? Question mark.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we're recording this in March, right after the equinox.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we just released our conversation out of the broom closet. And I just wanted to check in with you both and see how you're doing here as we're talking about the future.
Before we started recording, B asked how we were doing, and June and I both had like 1,000-yard stare. And that's how we're doing, honestly. I need to stop reading the news every goddamn minute of the day.
I will say I was finally able to go to the doctor this week. I've had a multi-week debacle with insurance because healthcare in the United States is awesome. But I finally made it to my doctor in desperate need of a prescription refill, and she had me, I don't know if they're just like giving this out to everyone. She had me fill out like a mental health intake form. That was not what I was doing the appointment for. I also haven't filled one of those out in years, but apparently my scores put me right on the edge of needing a psych referral. Super fun. But the thing was that she was like, when's the last time you upped your meds for my anxiety meds? That was like 5 years ago. It was, pandemic onset. I upped my meds. They've been pretty stable since then. And she was like, let's just do a small dosage increase and see if that helps. And then because I referenced the state of the world about half a dozen times, she was like, you're not alone. I'm doing this for a lot of people.
Yeah,
right
this is
now."
the fascism increase. Everybody gets like a little bump.
So how am I doing? I don't know, dude. My meds just got upped. So
I
Yeah,
love that. I think that's
it's
great.
really
I
relatable.
think that's really strong.
Yeah.
like,
My
thank
version
God.
of that, because I just went on new meds in November. So for me, we're vibing at the level that we're at. But my version of that is that I told my wife, if I have to go through chemo, I'm going to get sober again. So I'm not going to smoke any more weed.
Mhm.
And she literally was like, why would you do that? Like, why would you choose now? I really felt like it was the
That was also my gut reaction. If it's any
equivalent of someone being like, I'm going to go off my meds. She's like, why would you do that? No.
Yeah, I had my 3-week checkup post surgery. Recovery's going well, thank God. But Gina the other day offered to buy me some whiskey because I haven't been taking narcotics. My pain meds are fairly low, and I was like, well, I probably shouldn't be drinking that much whiskey. And she looked me dead in the eye and was like, "You have very few joys right now. Drink the whiskey."
I think what I specifically said to Meg, because I had been reading medieval literature, I was like, your joys are few.
Yeah, I think you literally said it like that. I was like, you said it in such a way that I was like, damn, bitch, I guess so. I guess my joys are few and I should drink the whiskey. Which is just to say,
April
did you do this to yourself?
2025. Our joys are few.
Our joys-
Joys are few. But hopefully increasing? Question mark? I don't know.
You better be.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do think that we all deserve a collective pat on the back because we have been talking about how difficult Q1 was going to feel and saying, the equinox and the zodiacal new year really might feel like the new year in 2025, not so much January 1st. So I am really curious to hear what both of you have to say now that we are getting to the point where change is on the horizon, even though I think it's probably more like a May story that I don't know, at
I
least.
feel like April is like, you know, we're turning the ship around a little bit, not to say politically in the US, like God help us, but like just that like like collectively, individually, you and your friends, you and your people, you and your partner, you and your kid, like, you know, the mood is starting to shift. We're doing like a 10-point turn on a yacht. Not that we're not on yachts, we're not with billionaires, but I
We're
was like,
super
you
not
know,
on
a
that.
Disney Carnival cruise ship. It's like that kind of ship trying to turn totally around. It's gonna take a minute. It's gonna take a little bit. It's gonna be a little
Stuck in
weird.
the Suez Canal.
That is kind of the energy of Q1, isn't it? Like,
To quote Ashley Johnson on Critical Role, time is a weird soup.
it is a
And
weird soup.
it's very cyclical and I don't know. I think that also my relationship to time has been weird ever since I read this book by an Italian physicist. It's called
Is
The
it in this
Order.
room?
No, it's in here, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
but it's called The Order of Time. Carlo Rovelli. It was
There it
right
is.
there. Thanks for the reminder. I can just look and
I was like, it's either behind you or behind me.
No, but he talks like the book is basically about how fucked up and weird time is and how time moves differently like in the mountains than it does at sea level and like how you can put two people in different places in the world and they're going to age differently because time works differently. So, I don't know, since I read that, I'm like time is a construct. It's
Yeah, well, and trauma fucks up time too, like both memory and your experience of time. And we have all at this point, regardless of your personal experience of trauma, which lots of people also have personal trauma, but we have so much collective trauma at this point. I think time we all have a weird relationship with time at this point. It's very, very soupy, to quote the brilliant Ashley Johnson. Yeah.
Okay, well, here's another amazing segue for you.
yeah.
Wait, I'm so
Let's do
excited.
it.
April, from a numerological standpoint, is a 4 month, and 4 is the container for said soup. So I think it is really interesting that we have kind of found ourselves talking about time and constructs and different experiences. It's not what I wrote down to share with
Incredible.
everyone in April. So I'm going to dive in, I
Let's
suppose.
go.
And I am going to talk a little bit about the state of the world. And so I'm sorry for that.
I think it's irresponsible to not talk a little bit about the state of the world, even if we're not getting specific. Like truly, at this point, it just feels so tone deaf to not acknowledge, all the things.
Yeah,
Or some of the things.
context
Yeah.
in which we are living.
Yes.
So 4 is the number of sturdiness and stability. It rules over systems and structures and traditions and beliefs, and it really talks to the part of our lizard brain that handles our overall sense of security and safety. So I don't think we're out of the woods yet by any means. I think that when I said March might be activating in a mental health capacity, I think at least for me, that absolutely has been a theme of my March. And so we're not totally out of the woods yet because I think this 4 energy coming around and being like, hey, do you feel safe? Like, hi, let's look at our illusions. I don't know that I love this for us, but in for a penny, in for a pound, here we go. But I think best case scenario, we're moving from messy March into automated April because
that's you.
that's what came through. Messy March and automated April because we are tired. So we just need some things to run themselves at this point, or figure out how to have some things run in the background or put them on a different burner so that we don't have to put our hands on everything all of the time. Because I do feel like that's something that when I think back about our other forecasts, we've just been talking about having to be all hands on deck, touching every piece of our lives all at once. And April is going to kick us into gear of trying to figure out how to not have to do that anymore. That being said, the vibe of the month is dismantling. So 4 is a really tricky number for me personally, and this feels really on the nose for what I am going through, but I hope that you can see the more universal application. April and the number 4 reveals the bones of something. So to have like a bone disease here in April that's finally going to get diagnosed and
That's loud.
I hear you. So we're looking at the bones of things now, and maybe March did start to kind of see that, but either way, I think April gives us our first chances to assess the situation after some kind of rupture or reckoning. So the last few months have really brought about rapid and chaotic changes. This is where we do start to talk about the state of the world. I think April is the first month where, because for rules, systems, and structures, and 2020 was a 4 year, we can think of this energy just shining the light on our current circumstances. And I think this is where we're really going to feel the impact of what's been up against the wrecking ball. So government wise, I really could see this manifesting as like further breakdowns to the system post Doge layoffs. And we're recording this towards, like we said, the end of March. So the latest executive order was to literally begin the process of dismantling the Department of Education. So I do think we're going to start to see the real realities of the smash and grab, of the break things. What's that phrase?
Move fast and break things.
That one. That bodes well for my soul that I don't remember it.
Love that for you. Yeah.
Really love that. Yes.
But I do think, unfortunately, we're going to see now what that means, because if you move fast and break things and then you need them to operate in a certain way. So I'm curious. 4 is a practical number, and our yearly cycle of 9 is a logical number. And so I usually think of emotional numbers, 2, 5, and 8, as being the ones that bring tension to like an otherwise groovy party. But I think it is true that what makes practical sense doesn't always make logical sense. Like there's tension between those methods of discernment and like figuring things out and coming to an opinion. So really my practical advice from a numerology standpoint for April is to stay in your lane. So to just really keep your focus on your own path and your own set of circumstances. I did do a tarot reading for the spring equinox and the season ahead on my Substack for my inbox, like paid pals. And the 4 of Cups came forward with a message around the importance of doing nothing, just like waiting. And I know that we just got into Q2, so the energy is picked up and we are feeling exhausted from the beginning of the year, but also kind of caged in and ready to go. And while I'm not going to tell anyone to turn away from their knowings and their natural rhythms, I am just adding that some things in April don't actually require our attention, and that a big part of putting things down and kind of not letting certain things take up every piece of the pie, right, is to just pause and let things work themselves out. And that takes a whole different kind of trust. That it's tricky, but the energy of April might be better served by parsing out what is in your control and what falls under your jurisdiction, and then just what does not. I think magically, protection magic could be really fun to play with and also necessary in some cases. When it comes to magic, I personally believe sometimes a defense is a good offense. So especially if you are engaging with highly volatile people or situations, the more peaceful choice can be one where you just protect your own energy, you send others' energy back to them, you do freezer spells to put folks' situations or bad vibes on ice. And in the number 3, which we were in March, we get our like first taste of magic and power. And in the 4, we want to dissect it and kind of put it together and learn what makes it work and control it and replicate it. But unlike the number 3, which is more of like a splatter painter, the number 4 likes to mark its area with tape and make sure that the floor is covered correctly, and then it paints perfectly inside the lines. That's very much the energy that we're stepping into. So again, consider what circumstances in your own life do you feel like you're moving away from mess and into automated April. So my last thoughts are, what systems and supports do you need to build in your life in April? How do you know when you have enough? How do you share and or gatekeep sacred information? And sacred doesn't just mean spiritual or religious. It could be like, how do you hold information about what you know about politics or money or, any kind of worldly material? Yeah, a lot. Definitely a soup here for April.
When you are talking, Bee, about like stay in your lane, you're not going to be able to do everything, let some things go. I just like my first grade teacher, Mrs. Sherman, just like popped into my brain. And I know that I only remember this because my mom used to quote it incessantly. But Mrs. Sherman used to say, "Worry about yourself. That's a big job." Again, context here to first graders who are so obsessed with like
Yeah.
tattling, which I think is why it's relevant. Not
Mhm.
only worry about yourself, that's a big job. Like, you know, because we do have community care and we do care for our neighbors. But like when you consider like what is that to a first grader? Is don't narc, don't tattle, like do your own, take care of your own stuff, like make sure you haven't left like your coat in the doorway for everyone else to trip over. Like, I don't know, it just felt very, the stay in your lane just felt very like, yeah, keep doing what you do, communicating to other people and trusting them to do what they do. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
The wisdom of a first grade teacher is always.
saints,
Truly.
Yeah.
saints. And like also who want like elementary school children are so cute and so like it's a lot. They're a lot.
They're a
Bless.
lot.
Like we
Yeah.
all were once a lot, but they're a lot.
Mm.
And like people who want to work with them, like we shouldn't be cutting their jobs and their benefits.
They
And
should make more money than all the CEOs. Like they
Yeah.
should be
yes.
whatever. Like it's bullshit. Anyway.
Okay, well, so now we have so many episode titles. We have April 2025, Don't Narc. We have
Honestly love that.
Also
April,
that.
yeah, April 2025, Hey the Teachers.
Meg, did you want to say anything about Bee's brilliance before I jump into the astrology?
No, I think you said it well. You're so brave. You're so smart. You're so pretty. I love you so much.
Thank you.
I have nothing
Thank
to add.
you. Okay, yes, I feel ready to move on.
Okay, so the stars. I don't know, dude. Compared to the like
Maybe that's the episode title.
2025. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, dude.
compared to last month, which and also just all of Q1, which in my opinion was rather like that children's book, like no good, very bad, day. The astrology in April, like at the surface, it's like, oh my God, this looks so uncomplicated. That's so nice. It's all I want. And like when you look at it closer, there are still some wrinkles getting ironed out. There are still some messy little spots, some retrograde pieces like puzzling themselves back into place. But for the most part, honestly, from an astrological standpoint, April very much has the vibe of like recovery. Maybe not rest, but recovery, which frankly I think is desperately needed after these last few months. Dear God. That said, the first half of April is more likely to feel like a hangover, TBH. Mercury and Venus are still retrograde. Mars is still trudging through Cancer. That's my least favorite transit of this entire year is Mars and Cancer. And like we aren't entirely clear of eclipse season until the lunations kick in mid-month in April. So like for the first half, my advice is, Mrs. Sherman, worry about yourself. That's a big job. But also just to focus on self-care and like your community care, right? Your friends are sick. Cook meals for them. Someone needs a ride somewhere. Offer to to take them. Like community is such a buzzword lately. And it's like, no, it actually looks like these very boring, concrete ways that we show up for each other and depend on each other. Meg and I have been talking about this with some friends recently, how like actions that are small and local are not just small and local, like they are a practice. They are in many ways conditioning, like we are conditioning ourselves in the practice of like showing up for our neighbors. It's easy perhaps for folks, myself included, to think that we'll play the hero in a big like fascist something or other, but like it's the daily stuff that adds up. And if you can't show up for the small stuff, how do you think you're going to show up for the big stuff? Just going to throw that out there. That said, Mercury stations direct April 7th in late Pisces, 27 degrees specifically, and will re-enter Aries on April 16th. Venus stations direct April 12th at 24 Pisces and will re-enter Aries April 30th. Plus, Taurus season starts April 19th. So the latter half of the month is going to feel pretty different from the first half. And the back half is also when we fully clear eclipse season. Thank fuck. We have a full moon in Libra on April 12th, and then a new moon in Taurus on April 27th. Both of the lunations in April are Venus ruled, which I'm going to get into a little bit in the cauldrons. I think that that's very sweet. It offers a lot of sweetness to us. And also very sweet is the fact that neither lunation is making major aspects. They're just pretty straightforward, just a new moon, just a full moon, with no other planets making really large contributions to the conversation. And like, good, because we're tired and we just had eclipses and it's been a very big year with lunation so far. So like, give us some easeful Venusian hang with our friends, get high with our friends, unless you're like me and trying to go sober on the weed.
I don't think I am. I don't
Don't
know.
do it. Please don't do it.
TBD.
Not to tell you what to do with your body, but come on, B.
Our joys are few.
Be nice to yourself.
Just a little child at a well, and
I'm
you
a small well child. Right.
Child. Your joys are few.
Last like big news I will say about that we can celebrate mid-April is that after trotting direct in Cancer for most of March, Mars will finally re-enter Leo on April 18th. Action film commence. It's going to be so energizing. It's going to, I think, really help to shake off the collective winter drudgery that we've all accumulated. I think it's just going to be amazing for so many reasons. Last but not least, one aspect that I do want to make note of in April, on April 17th. So you'll notice some of these dates, it's like 16th, 17th, 18th, like there's like boom, 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 like big stuff happening every day, which is going to be hopefully helpful for shifting the cultural tone at the moment in this country. But on April 17th, Mercury in Aries makes its first ever conjunction to Neptune in Aries in any of our lifetimes. And to me, this feels really significant in the sense that it's a preview / idea, like it's like the first volley in how we are going to be collectively communicating the dream. And specifically the very like fiery, brave, Aries-pilled dream. Like if Neptune in Pisces was very much a mystic, Neptune in Aries is very much an idealistic warrior. And so with Messenger Mercury there, this moment is really about how we're communicating, how we're sharing, how we are materially investing in making the dream a reality. Mercury also governs commerce, especially local commerce. So that's very relevant again. And so I just definitely also pay attention to major headlines in as much as we can trust state propaganda. But like what videos are going viral, like of the fighting oligarchy rallies or of the town halls with absent representatives, like take note around that time of what is really gaining traction and like seeming to pierce the mainstream state propaganda bubble.
Incredible. I love it. That feels very energizing to me. Like all of that feels very like, I can't wait to feel better and be like, I want to go out and walk around and do things and put stickers up around my neighborhood and like just like do stuff again, you know? That feels really good.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and I think so speaks to how heavy the astro weather has been, because like it's Aries season when we're recording right now, and it's Aries season for like the first half of April. And usually Aries season, like just the equinox alone usually just kicks me into gear. And this year that's like not happening. But there's just so many things going on right now that finally the fog is going to kind of start to lift. It's just going to be easier to see and also appreciate, I think, like what other people are doing for resistance. I think right now a lot of the hopelessness, it's like, is it hopelessness? Is it we're so stuck in our bodies and stuck in this drudgery that it's hard to see? I don't know. I'm not making sense.
You are.
You are making sense. Yeah.
Okay.
No, those roundups that some people do, and we should link to at least one in the show notes, like maybe the most recent one. But the roundups that people do of like, here's how people are fighting back. Here's how many protests there were this week. Here's how many reps didn't show up to their town halls and the residents had a fucking town hall anyway. Here's every court that's striking things down. Here's every teacher that's, you know, insisting on having their, you know, everybody belongs here banner up in their classroom, even though the school district is having a shit fit about it. Like, reading that stuff, whether I'm doing my own things that day or I'm working on a larger project or whatever I'm doing, always makes me feel better, because it's like I can't do all the things, but all the things are happening in various ways because other people are doing the things. And I feel like it's such a good antidote for me, at least, to feelings of like hopelessness or helplessness. It's like people are fighting every single day on a ton of different battle lines, that some of which I don't even know about, and I love that. I think that's how this shit happens.
I will also link it in the show notes, but there was this one thread from an indie bookseller in the South, who did this amazing. Oh, did you guys see it? It was so good. About we'll have it linked there, about what books are selling right now and what people are asking for, and like across demographics. And specifically, I was overjoyed at the fact that Chuck Schumer, they have not sold one copy of Chuck Schumer's memoir.
Fuck
I was
that
like,
guy, man.
good job, everyone. Good job.
Good
We're
team.
Go
We don't
team.
need to
Why
read
am
that
I
garbage.
going to spend my one wild and precious life reading that man's memoir?
Why am I going to give that man more than one additional minute of my time? All right, should I talk about the cards? Do we have anything else we want to say? All right. Our cards this month rule. I'm not going to lie to you. I was pretty excited when I pulled them, because I think a lot of them connect to a lot of what y'all have said. So please feel free to interject with thoughts and feelings. Yeah, they felt really good to me when I pulled them, and so I've been excited to share them here. So the first card I'm going to share, as always, is the theme card, which is just like vibes. Like, let's just see how things are going to feel, get a temperature check, etc. And our theme card for this month, appropriately, is the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords is often associated with movement, so I feel like this is especially resonant for the back half of the month when we're starting to see some clearing. But the Six of Swords is really often associated with travel, traveling through something, and traveling beyond something that's kind of sucked. And so I think sometimes the Six of Swords has some like residual pain or stress or angst or even grief, because we've been moving through something really hard. We've made a hard right, or maybe a soft right, but we have done something brave. We have done something complicated. We have done something that might require us to change our tune a little bit, or realize that we've been moving in the wrong direction or whatever. But I tend to think of it as a moment of realizing humility a little bit, and making an adjustment that we've really needed to make. And so there can be some grief or some pain or some sorrow in this card, but usually I associate it with relief. It's like a deep breath, a moment to breathe in and out, to relax our shoulders, to hug our loved ones, and to realize that we feel a little bit lighter and a little bit freer after doing the shitty thing, right? We've moved through the worst of it, and now we can start to see what's on the other side of this big, brave decision. And I love that energy for all of us.
Yeah.
The Suit of Swords in general is a rough one. If you know tarot, most people are not thrilled about the Suit of Swords in general. It's associated with air and the realm of the intellect, our sense of both fact and fiction, which especially these days can be a complicated line to walk. But 6 as a digit is so much about reciprocity and responsibility, taking care of what matters, staying in our lane, remembering that we are all connected, and even the small things that we do have a ripple effect and might be inspiring or impacting other people. And so while this card can feel like the relieved aftermath of a really big, scary decision, it's also giving us something really new and beautiful to pursue. And I find that there's a lot of like clarity within this card. It's like remembering what matters to us. And so as a theme card for this month, I'm thinking about everything we've been talking about, how fucking hard things have been, both in the United States, but also around the world. Fascism is rising everywhere. Israel is bombing Gaza again. Like, all of these things are brutally hard and impossibly difficult and painful to witness. It's very hard to navigate all of the information we're receiving, especially when there's state-fueled propaganda mixed into all of it. This quarter has been really slow, all these retrogrades and eclipses. And so I'm really thinking about Q2 and starting to feel movement and momentum beginning to slowly, surely ramp up. So I was taking notes while you both were talking, because Jeanna's talking about like communicating the dream and thinking about, what's important, and Bee was talking about dismantling. And so I was really thinking about how the Six of Swords can be a card of kind of stripping things back and simplifying and getting really focused on what we care about. How are we processing and sharing what we're moving through with other people rather than carrying heavy burdens alone? How are we acknowledging our own truths and visions and ideas and longings of the kind of world we want to build? that Neptune stuff that you were talking about, it just all felt very, very related. And also, how are we celebrating our progress, even if it feels slower or more painful than we'd anticipated? How are we taking a second to go, wait, that was good, actually. Let's take a minute to be proud of this, or to be excited about this, or to send it to people who might use a boost that day, right? Our truth card is basically like an internal challenge. It's something to think about, something to consider, questions to ask ourselves, something to kind of ruminate on. And I pulled the Hierophant, which I love the Hierophant. I know sometimes people have feelings about it, but I love the Hierophant. The very first thing that I thought of, like the first thought that popped into my head when I pulled out this card is, what old rules are you still forcing yourself to live by? The Hierophant is often depicted in tarot decks as this really religious figure, or as a person who holds a lot of authority, someone who's a gatekeeper, or who limits the flow of information and knowledge. But this is also someone that other people look to for guidance and wisdom, as well as reminding them of traditions and rules. I like to think of the Hierophant more as like a Socratic teacher, someone who's asking impossible questions and offering the keys that they have found without demanding that everyone else, use those same keys. This is someone who's really comfortable wading through mystery, who brings a spirit of adventure to the pursuit of knowledge. And it's also a 5 card. So it really does feel like an opportunity to choose something different, to take the path less traveled, and to honor our longings. I was thinking really specifically about Democrats here in the United States, especially about old ones like Chuck Schumer, who are way more concerned about decorum and tradition and the way things have been done and what's proper than, protecting their fucking constituents, or being able to listen and pivot and adapt and change and pave a new way forward, be a new kind of leader that so many of us are demanding. In this particular example, the old ways are taking bribes from interest groups and making legislative decisions based on what's going to best benefit their personal stock portfolios. And there certainly are a handful of wealthy individuals who are very much thriving under this system, but most of us aren't. And so the rules might be working as intended, but they don't work for us. And so I really see this as an opportunity to stop gatekeeping sacred information, as you talked about, Bee, or thinking about what information is important for others to have, and explore what we know and what we'll never know. So the Hierophant as our truth card for the month really is an invitation, I think, to consider what old structures, traditions, rituals, routines, limits, or boundaries that might have once offered you comfort and protection and a feeling of safety might now be stifling you, or preventing much needed growth, or allowing you to try something new and brave and move into that 6 of Swords energy. What are you ready to reimagine? Where are you ready to break free? What new rules can you write for yourself and maybe for your communities that reflect your current values and the things that you've learned since you originally made those rules, right? Our last card, our dare card, our challenge, our risk, our I dare you to do this card is the Page of Pentacles. And I love the Page of Pentacles because I see this as like a really curious, sweet figure who is willing to try something and who is really aware of the fact that experimentation has to happen in order for us to learn things. And so I think of the Page of Pentacles as someone really deeply rooted into this world. They want to know and experience everything they can about their daily life. They really rejoice in seeing and feeling and tasting as many things as possible. They celebrate their body and their capacity for movement and their ability to live and breathe each day, not because their body is perfect, but because it's theirs and because it is their vessel for experiencing and loving and moving through this world. I'm actually writing a new workbook on court cards right now, so I've been spending a lot of time with these cards, and I've been thinking specifically about the Page of Pentacles as a scout. It's heist themes, don't worry about it, but the Page of Pentacles like a scout, someone who's exploring and wandering and gathering information, who lets themselves get lost so that then they can find their way home. Someone who's curious about the many resources that they have access to, as well as the ones that they don't have access to. And someone who really wants to understand more about this world and what makes it tick and what it craves. So I love this card for April, especially as a dare, because it feels both grounded and spacious, like an opportunity to slowly learn and grow at our own pace, to take care of ourselves. What did you say? How did you frame it, Jeanna? What's the expression? I've already lost it.
Worry about yourself. That's a big job.
Worry about yourself. That's a big job. The world is moving really fucking fast right now. But as I said before, when I look to the organizers and activists and creatives and teachers, everyone is telling us to slow down as a way of being able to stay in this work for the long term. Rest and recovery is part of this effort. It's part of this work of rebuilding a new world, reimagining a new world. And so I want to remind you that we all have our own role to play, our own questions to bring, our own contributions to make. So this month, if you feel yourself getting really activated or freaking out or feeling helpless, slow down, ground into your body and your environment, take care of you, and think about what you're seeing and feeling and what that means. Think about what you have access to and how you can use it. And think about where you're going and what you might find along the way that you can share with those around you. So truly, like, so many themes that y'all already talked about. And also, yeah, being willing to take some risks. I think the Hierophant is very brave in a like philosophical way, less like I'm gonna put my body on the line and get arrested and beaten by a cop, and more like, what do we need in order to break free from this system, and what's it gonna take, and how many roles need to be filled, and where can I fit into that?
I also kind of low-key love that the Hierophant came out for this month. And the Hierophant, to say, like, is my birth card. And so I've spent many years in difficulty with this archetype. But the reason specifically that, like, queer folks often get so hung up on this card, because there's that tension of, like, interpreting it as the Pope, as the religious leader, as the authoritarian, as the political leader. But then on the other hand, you have perhaps someone who can change their mind, or someone who is like, those rules never worked for, like, Martin Luther was once a rebellious hierophant, post like pounding 70, what is it, 79, 97 theses, 99, something, a lot. I don't know why Martin Luther was my go-to example for that. I am so steeped in religious history right now for my novel project. I really apologize for that.
You're like, oh, I need to think of a rebel. I know the perfect one. Luther.
Yeah, be your face. I could see you process. You're like, why is she saying that?
Like, this guy?
No, but then I was like, yeah, you're
Not wrong.
And you're right. And why shouldn't we all post our thoughts to the doors of...
It's a zine, basically.
Yeah.
He
made I like that. He made a zine and he put it on the church door.
More of us could be like Martin Luther.
Let's stand in April to make zines and then to just put them on the doors of politicians.
Yeah.
I just think there's this overwhelming theme, though, that's like we are moving away from mess and muck. And I think that's really beautiful and something that we can all really find heartening in April, especially in the moments where it doesn't yet feel like it. Again, we're still in eclipse season. We're still in the first half of the numerological spiral. I wrote this the other day, like, we're in heavy hitter spring, but we're not at the game. We're at the practice still.
Yeah, I like that.
We're at the practice at the beginning of a new season. So we're like a little rusty because we haven't been working out in the off time. I don't know, sports metaphors. I hope
you're doing great.
That's what you were saying about the conditioning.
Yeah.
Like, this is a local actions. Like, that's a practice, and we have to condition ourselves into getting very used to it.
Yeah, you have to practice. You have to practice showing up for people even when it's inconvenient or annoying. You have to practice breaking rules when they don't matter. Like, it's like those things, like, you have to kind of start small and build up. And yeah.
Should we get into some cauldrons?
Let's do it. Let's dive into the cauldrons.
I have good news. I feel like I was way more optimistic in my cauldrons than in my OG month ahead preview. So, because we're going to start our cauldrons right off the bat with finances, I am so happy to tell you that 4 is actually a number that vibes so well with money matters. So I am really bursting with joy because I feel like our money has been under lock and key for months, right? And whether that means we didn't have it and we needed it, or we needed it and couldn't access it, or, we owe someone something and so we can't move until that gets taken care of, like, whatever the money matter is, we're not going hog wild. And I actually think that May might have a little bit more of a hog wild vibe. So looking ahead. But here in April, I think we're going to be able to separate our emotions from our actions just enough to bring some much needed organization to our financial situation. So once it kind of gets free from whatever has been holding it, then assess the situation. Consider your accounts, your investments, the ways in which you bill, sell, pay, spend, whatever. Yes, it is tax season, which is already fraught with its own things. And this is not financial advice. This is not advice. I am not an accountant nor a professional, but it is. So it's just a reminder that, especially for those in 1, 4, or 7 months, the practical numbers, in this case, the numbers are really supporting you getting your shit together on paper. So I hope we feel a little bit more freedom, access, and organization when it comes to money.
For astrology for money, Virgo risings. The Libra full moon on April 12th highlights your personal finances, assets, and values. This is the fruition or maybe a peak period or a major release of something in this area of life that may have been initiated or really intensified during last year's Libra eclipse on October 2nd. So revisit your calendar, your bank account, your investments, and see what might be popping up again. And then for Aries risings, this Taurus new moon on April 27th is initiating a new path in your financial life. And while this moon is co-present with Uranus, the lunation I think is at 7 degrees and Uranus is in the late 20s at this point. So they're both there in Taurus, but not close enough for the vibe to be uber chaotic, which is what happens when Uranus is really tight with a lunation. I think this vibe is more just unexpected, but ultimately fruitful beginnings in your financial life. This month has very big, for Aries risings with their money, very big path not taken, something coming back around, especially given that this part of your life is ruled by Venus, which was recently retrograde, and so also bringing up some themes for review.
Cool. The card I pulled for us is the Hermit. And so it made me think about the Page of Pentacles again, as a reminder to kind of slow down, trust your gut, release things that don't make sense, and let a story conclude if it's time for that story to conclude. I pulled our cards this month from the Modern Witch Tarot, and the Hermit card is literally a figure closing their laptop, physically closing the laptop. Which I don't think means you can't buy anything or launch anything if you're a small business owner. Yes, that's literally exactly what the image looks like for those of you watching on video. But it did make me think this could be the moment for this month to just take 24 hours to sit on any major purchases or any impulse purchases that you feel like making. Honor what you know you need instead of what advertisements make you think you need, and just be mindful about what you're buying. It doesn't mean you can't splurge or make a big purchase if you need to, but try not to rush through it is really what was coming forward.
All right, for home. Home is also an incredibly important space for the number 4. I feel like we're in good company here in cauldrons with the number 4. So I said before that 4 represents the bones, so the foundations. And in April, this could be your body as your home, your living space. It could be your childhood home, any combination of aforementioned homes. Something could be coming back around. I think that it could be fun, especially for those in 2, 5, or 8 months. Those are the emotional numbers, to really indulge in the act of creating and honoring spaces. So these definitely are spring cleaning vibes, but I feel like they're also nesting vibes. If you really moved into your home and filled it with things that you love? Or is this the month to finally commit to a daily bathing ritual or practice, or to finally put up the peel and stick wallpaper that you bought months ago but never did anything with, Or even to ask yourself, what from your childhood did you love about your home, and how can you recreate that now for yourself in your own home? So it could have us going backwards in order to really sink into our spaces.
So for the astrology of home, once again, we're focusing on some rising signs who this is a really big deal for this month. So Cancer risings, I'm actually really excited for you because the Libra full moon on April 12th highlights your home, heritage, roots, relationships with parents and grandparents, all that good stuff. But specifically, it's closing out the very last eclipse of Libra that happened last year. So last year's Libra eclipse was on October 2nd, which was a new moon eclipse. It was a solar eclipse in this part of your chart. And now with this like 6 month later full moon kind of putting that to bed, that really volatile Aries Libra eclipse cycle that really hammered Cancer and Capricorn risings, that's done for you. So like whatever disruption you've had with family or home, like this is kind of an official closeout. So again, that could literally look like you're selling your house, or you're releasing a big relationship or experiencing a major change in that. Like, but whatever it looks like, I think that home things are going to be feeling a lot more stable in the coming year for Cancer rising folks. Aquarius risings. So the new moon in Taurus on April 27th is initiating something new here. Again, relationships with parents, grandparents, caregivers, in regards to your roots or heritage, alternately in regard to your literal living space. And again, Venus ruling this lunation may look like a new leaf turning over in one of those familial relationships. It also may look like committing to something new in your home. I'm an Aquarius rising myself, and it's very notable to me that like this is happening during this lunation is coming right on the heels of like Venus retrograde, because Venus ruling this part of life, it's like your home has already been up for review, and then this lunation comes in and just like officially kickstarts something new. Like I will say, with Venus retrograde and Venus ruling this part of my life, and this is, again, we're recording in March, I literally just redid our office. Like I got a new rug, I switched out the office chair. Again, sometimes like it's not a really big new change, big new initiation. It's just those small micro adjustments that make a tremendous difference in your quality of living.
I love that. And yeah, the new chair is so great. So the card that I pulled for us for our home this month is actually the Eight of Wands, which was great to see after so much slowness over these last few months. So if things have felt especially tense or stuck or otherwise frustrating for you, especially in the realm of home, you might find some ease and some really fresh, engaging energy this month. The Eight of Wands in general can feel like a clearing of obstacles, which could indicate that things might be happening quickly or fall really easily into place. I was thinking especially about if you're someone that's trying to buy or sell or rent property, if you're shifting roommates or living situations, if you're undertaking renovations or anything else home related. I'm hoping that this energy brings you a lot of efficiency and ease around doing those things. Generally, this energy doesn't last for a long time. It's probably not going to feel like Eight of Wands all month long, which is great because nobody's got energy for that. But I will say, if you feel it, take advantage of it. I just want to remind you that the finance card I just pulled is the Hermit, and also Mercury retrograde is the thing. So just make sure to triple check anything you're signing, especially if you're going to use like a payment plan for a larger purchase. Take a breath, review everything, make sure it actually works with your budget. But yeah, have fun out there, kids.
All right, so 4 is not the sexiest number for love, I have to say. But especially for those in a 3, 6, or 9 month, those are the mental numbers. You might find April to bring a lot of over or under thinking. Either you're kind of getting caught in thought loops and paranoia or patterns when it comes to like, why aren't they texting me back energy? Or you might be underthinking, meaning like you think you're communicating and you actually are leaving this person on red or like ghosting. I also kind of feel like 4 represents stinginess. Like 4 is the cheap date. So,
Oh no.
or like the date that you're on and you think it's going really well, but then they ask you to like split the bill or something. You just, it's not terrible. You just weren't expecting it. It's like, okay, now you know. So I feel like there might be an opportunity this month for in love situations where you're coming up against a barrier or a surprise that you didn't know about that person. And then you get to make a choice how you want to move through it. I also wrote, this was very funny. I don't remember writing this, which is how you know it was either bullshit or like full on channeling. So we'll find out. Maybe both. But I wrote, your partner's favorite band is coming to town and tickets are $1 million. But maybe you can find something between floor seats and cheap seats, you know?
Yeah.
So it also means that little or grand gestures might land really well because people aren't expecting it, especially if there's like withholding going on. So I don't know. 4 is a weird vibe for love, but it's not terrible.
Cute.
Yeah, kind of similarly, half the month is still Venus retrograde in
Yeah.
April, and that's not bad. It's just careful and different. This Venus retrograde, like, obviously impacts relationships and love in the way that you are sometimes revisiting something or revisioning something within a relationship or checking in or an ex is getting in touch.
Yeah.
It's a good time to check in with what you want, what your desires are. And because you're not even necessarily checking in with another person, like it could just be you checking in with yourself. And I think Venus in Aries actually, and Venus will re-enter Aries after stationing direct in April. I think it's just so good for like taking yourself on a date to do something. Again, no matter what your relationship status is, it's like, I am worthy of good things. I am worthy of safety and comfort and love and joy. And especially for marginalized folks in these times, like Venus retrograde in Aries has very big joy as an act of resistance vibes, which I love for us. Specifically, to offer one specific date, on April 24th, Venus is direct and retracing her steps through Pisces, and she finds herself in a conversation with Saturn, which is not necessarily bad. It just has the vibes of like making something concrete, like it's a DTR, it's a commitment, it's some kind of deepening emotional connection. You're meeting your partner's kids for the first time. It's like taking a serious step. Also good for locking down beneficial contracts, I will say, with partners, whether romantic, platonic, professional. So,
Cool. Well, I'm just going to co-sign everything Jeanna said because I pulled the Six of Cups for us and it feels very, very related. The Six of Cups often gets associated with like inner child work or nostalgia. And so it really made me think about not just revisiting relationships, but also thinking about how you can have ease and lightness and play when it comes to partners, relationships, friendships, whatever. So perhaps if the four is really foring for you in this month, lead into that Six of Cups energy. Go get some ice cream with your partner and then go to an old swing set, or like do something like watch your favorite childhood movies together, or build a pillow fort in the living room, or do something that feels really playful and nostalgic. It doesn't have to cost money, but that shows that you're paying attention, like you were saying, be with like the small, thoughtful gestures. But yes, this could also very much be a revisiting or a rethinking of, or a taking responsibility for a relationship, whatever that might mean for you. It felt like a very sweet card to pull for all of us this month. So
Yeah, I love a Six of Cups for love.
yeah, it's so cute.
Yeah. All right, our final cauldron, health. Okay, I literally wrote, I'm so excited about Mars moving, but
Mhm.
obviously I'm going to let Gina speak to that. But the number four rules systemic shit, and I've already mentioned the bones. So again, it is a little on the nose that April might see me personally having chemo for lymphoma that's spread to my spine. But
Good.
I actually love April energy for all of our bodies because I do think in April is when we're going to start coming out of hibernation a little bit, physically, emotionally. I think emotions definitely live under health as well. So stretch a lot, drink a lot of water, spend time outside as nature also unfurls into spring, and get a physical. That is my health advice
Mhm.
for April. If you are able to get a physical, it's time for the checkup. It's one of those things that's like, again, four is not super sexy, but it is important. So, especially if you've been avoiding it, there could be a lot of like, oh, if I just don't know, then I don't have to deal with it. But that's not how four works. So, yes, this includes dental cleanings as well, saying that
What I was thinking about.
I know.
Hate it.
But best case scenario is you're good. You have nothing to worry about. You're doing great. You're healthy, but you should know because four and health really have like early detection is key vibes. So I think if you've been avoiding your health, just get a foundational understanding of where you are now.
I literally just scheduled my physical for April.
You're doing
So,
it. You're
look at
doing
that.
great.
We're witches. It's great. Like B set me up for beautifully. Mars finally goes back into Leo, which it was
Yes.
last in November, I think, like October,
Mhm.
November. What again? Time. What is time?
It's been
Who
a
is she?
long time.
But April 18th, Mars re-enters Leo. Which is amazing because that with Mars and Leo, in addition to the fact that just like Mars in a fire sign is happy, Mars loves to be in a fire sign. Like obviously has domicile in Aries, but like Mars and Leo is still really, really, really good for just our general vitality. But to me, the big thing for this, it's not because like Cancer sucks. That's not the, I mean, well, Cancer sucks, but
Yes.
like not because like the sign does, but because like Cancer as the sign is ruled by the moon. So when Mars is in Cancer, it's being ruled by the fucking moon and by the variability. So very, very thrilled for this. I think it'll be really energizing, good for morale, like good for, again, like I said, our general sense of vitality. I will say that I want us to be conscientious about not like going off to the races right when Mars re-enters Leo, because shortly after that happens mid-month, Mars is then literally square the sun, which is its ruler. That has very big overdoing it vibes. So again, Mars goes into Leo mid-month. We love this. Again, like Bea said, we're hydrating, we're stretching, we're doing Pilates, we're not like, I'm gonna go run a 5K after never leaving my house for like 2 years. Like,
I'm not going to run a 5K. I feel like that was pointed at me specifically.
that wasn't actually, well, you know what? Subconsciously, it totally was pointed at you
I know.
specifically.
I used to be a runner. I ran a marathon in 2018. I used to run.
You specifically know, Meg, when Meg and I met, she was training for the New York City Marathon, which she ran on her fucking birthday.
I think that's the part that upsets Jeanna the most, is that I ran it on my birthday.
Yes, Meg, it does upset me. No one should be running a marathon on their birthday. See, this is what we're not doing in March with Mars. We start with a walk around the block. We increase to like 10 minutes, we're doing
This is me literally. I'm like, what if I could go outside again? I'm getting close.
keeping it chill.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of drink some water, I pulled the Ace of Cups. I think when it comes to health, thinking very much about a fresh start, a new beginning, a filling of the cup, so to speak. Water moves a little bit more slowly than fire, so I do actually think this is going to be a nice antidote to the I have to schedule all of my doctor's appointments, I have to do all the things, I want to like get ready and raring to go the second things start to feel like there's movement. With the Ace of Cups, I want to invite you to think about exploring a new way of relating to your body or moving your body or understanding your health. It was really making me think about introducing gently, slowly, mindfully, carefully, a new activity, a new routine, especially if it means bringing someone else into it. Start taking walks with a friend, start doing like group trash pickups in your neighborhood, whatever gets you out of the house and gets you moving. What would fill your cup right now? And what if it could also help fill someone else's cup simultaneously?
Yeah, I feel like I like the energy of April upon first glance.
I like where we're going.
I like where we're going. It feels, I shared this with the two of you earlier, that I'm finding a lot of peace in straightforwardness. Like, even in the weirdest, shittiest situations, if we can just have a straightforward discussion about what needs to happen, how it's going to happen, problems we might run into, there's a lot of safety and security in that. And that's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling listening to everyone's thoughts and observations of April, is like, hopefully things can just start to become more straightforward.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, clarity feels like something that just we don't have enough of right now. It feels like things are so opaque and there's so many things happening at the same time that you can't see any one thing very, very clearly. So I am excited for the astro weather to change and to kind of see how things feel on the other side of all of these shifts.
It's also, I will say, from just like a very practical, everyday standpoint, April is when we hit 100 days. And that's always such a big deal in a new presidential term, the first 100 days. What did they do with the first 100 days? And I know that that's as much as, the overwhelm of executive orders and all of these different things are absolutely with the intent to move fast, break things, overwhelm so that people feel helpless. It also is very literally like, tick off the things for donors. Like half of Project 2020, I saw something, I may not be right, someone fact check me on this, but like that up to half of Project 2025 initiatives have literally already been implemented and like or not implemented, but are being started. Like the dominoes are getting knocked down. And I do wonder if, like, not to suggest that they're going to slow down in any way, but I do wonder if once we hit that 100-day mark, we start to see some like cracking. Again, I could be totally fucking off base here, but like I do think there is something to that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I was getting at in the very beginning when I talked
Mm.
about April revealing the bones and
Mm.
saying
Yeah.
that like
Mhm.
when you do
Yeah.
just strip a lot of weight and make a lot of changes,
Yeah.
it doesn't function like it used to anymore. And so things will start to break down, things will start to crack. I don't necessarily I have a vibe that I feel like it's going to go in both directions, like
Mhm.
of the pendulum swing. So who knows at this point? And we already talked about how we're no longer in a two-party system. Like we really actually are in a 3+ party system. We just haven't moved far enough into that place to like see
Not
results
formalized.
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, like I think the seeds planted or the dominoes set up and then knock them down, like I think that's really potent. Those are really potent visuals and metaphors for April.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just got like chills with that because one of my favorite movies of all time, and I know that it's like it fucks up some book adaptation things, don't at me people, but is V for Vendetta. And there is a really epic scene when like we're moving toward it, which is about like England under an authoritarian regime, the US under something similar, but obviously it takes place in the UK. And like as we're moving toward the climactic scenes, it's this huge like setup of the main guy slash like quote unquote terrorist like knocking down an enormous domino display that took people, I think like it took some folks on set like days to set it up. It's totally stunning, but I just like kind of had that image of like everything is poised to blow and then one and it all knocks down anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get big dismantling vibes from
You
April.
said
You
it.
said it.
You said
Yeah.
it.
Did. But I don't think that's a bad thing, you
No.
know. I
At this
think it's
point, no.
healthy
Like
now. Yeah.
we need an actual opposition party. Like people
Mhm.
are getting angrier and angrier. Keep it up.
Let's keep the
There's a big
fires
there's like a
going.
national action day happening on the 5th. I know there have been a lot of them, but April 5th is the next one. But yeah, there's so many things to do on a broad level, but also truly like community, you know. I've been recovering from surgery this last month. We had multiple people stop by to drop off like big amounts of food that we were able to like live on for a couple of days. In part, we do the same thing for our people when they're sick and when they're in need, but also it's just these are the kinds of things we need to do now. Like thing that always goes around every few years of like the discourse around my friend asked me to pick them up from the airport and I'm so offended by it. And I'm always like, yo, y'all have got to chill out. Like if you have a car and can bring people to the airport, what an act of love. What a great hour to have in the car with your friend. Like, what are we doing here? Like, bring your friends to the airport. What a lovely thing to do. I don't know.
Same thing about moving.
Yeah, like, yeah, moving sucks. And also, it's way more fun when your friends help you. Like, you can pay them in more in pizza and beer if you want to, but also, like, just, I don't know. People are so
I just
fucking
like
weird.
it's so weird that community I am desperate to know what people who don't do community think community is. It's
Yeah.
not retweets, it's not likes. Like I
No.
what do you think it is? Like it's showing up for people. Like
Yeah.
again, I began the episode as the way I'm ending it, or whatever, which is just being incoherent, just wordless with
Incensed.
incensed with like confusion and like what even just
Wordplay.
rage, just flames on the
Flames.
side of my face, heaving breathless, heaving breaths.
That's the episode title, Flames on the Side of My Face.
April 2025, flames on the side of my face.
Perfection.
Yeah. Amen.
Or if you would like to continue to support our chaotic ramblings, we have a $5 supportive tier on Patreon that at the very least helps me pay for the podcast website. So
which is huge,
we
honestly.
super appreciate everyone who is giving at that tier. We like y'all are the fucking best.
Yes. And I am going to get on top of merch because I love the idea of Bee having a big cozy sweatshirt to wear for whatever treatments you
That
have
says
to
my
do.
joys are few.
That says my joys are few.
Yes, our joys are few.
Yeah, and have like a mouse eating a cookie or something, like a mouse smoking a blunt, whatever you want, babe.
My goodness. Okay, well, obviously I have some designs to get working on. I'm still vibing on Substack. I know
Yeah.
it's problematic, but there I am. And I'm doing weeklies and
They're so great.
Your weekly
everything.
forecasts are so great.
They're so great.
Well, yours too. I feel like
Oh.
I write mine, but I read Gina's. And I also just redid my tarot calendar on Moonlight to be 15-minute async reading. So I'll record it for you in my own time and I'll send it to you, or 30-minute live sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And I do have a lower capacity these days, and so a slightly stricter schedule, but I would love to read for you if you're looking for tarot guidance.
Incredible. Well, along those lines, because I also am a tarot person, I recently just added a journaling course that I wrote last year that's all about using the queens as containers, speaking of four, to really help you get in touch with your emotions, not in a woo-woo feel your feelings way, but in a like actually building relationships with your feelings and learning to appreciate them in a way that is helpful. And that feels very timely. Befriending your anger is a beautiful thing, and the Queen of Wands can help you do it, etc. So it's called Queens of Spirit, and it's now part of my monthly membership program, which is the 3 a.m. Tarot Conservatory. I am also, speaking of court cards and community and finding your lane and having a role, I am working on, which will hopefully be out by the time this podcast airs, a new workbook. It's heist themed because we're just going full chaos gremlin for 2025. I'm kind of obsessed with it. But it's a workbook on court cards and finding your role and appreciating the different skills that everyone has, not just the ones that you yourself possess. So that'll be out as well. We'll throw all that in the show notes.
Babe, say what it's called.
It's called Oceans 16. And that's a shout out to Meg Kane, who literally came up with that and helped me brainstorm around it. Oh my God, I love it so much. It's very, very fun. So yeah, you can check my website for both of those things, and we'll throw some links in the show notes as well. I also have a newsletter. It's fine.
I will say, if you enjoy my astrology here, you can get my weekly forecast at my newsletter, jeannakadlec.substack.com. It's called Astrology for Writers, but you don't have to be a writer to enjoy the forecasts, even though they are sometimes more writerly, artist-themed. I have a reading that I'm really loving doing right now called Unsticking Your Creative Practice, a mini reading for 2025. It's a few paragraphs in a PDF that I write up for you based on your chart about some ideas I have for you to, it's exactly what it says. Unstick your creative practice, like to bust those blocks, to actually get to work in a way that feels good and restorative. And I really love doing them. They're really fun and people seem to really enjoy them. And those are on my website. They're linked in the newsletter. You can get the link on my Instagram too. And I am hoping to do a guided experiential workshop in April, tying the Mercury and Venus retrograde into, again, another examination of our artistic practice. And hopefully I will have the link for that in the show notes by the time we have this up. I'm still creating it on the back end. So
yes, Bee and I are also cooking up a wonderful workshop for you to really engage with the energies of this year. So if you're really on the hype train about the new astrological year, you're loving this fresh start for Q2, it'll be a very timely and energizing experience for you. So we'll throw information about that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, look, April's going to be great.
It's going to be great. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And we'll be back. Oh, this is exciting too. We have another conversation episode for you this month. And this one came from a listener. So we got a request and we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Woo.
Yep.
It's gonna be so much
real. Bring your tissues.
We're going to do it. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
We'll be back later this month with that. And yeah, just sending everyone a ton of love and comfort and solidarity and resurrection vibes for April.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.